want to make sure my face is on the re-edited version from now on. That's my only stipulation.
Hey, we're back. It's like we're never away. It's like we're constantly...
some of us are.
Well, some of us are decorated, aren't they?
Some of us are part-time, yeah.
Sorted some fibre optics out, but yeah,
exactly.
Welcome everyone to Loaded Mag NUFC and the Fully Loaded Transfer Show. We're back again, and look, we've brought some friends with us. But first and foremost, Daz, Mark, how are you guys?
Oh, good, man. Yeah, busy. Busy work is mad. Busy decorating. Yeah, and as I just told you guys coming on air, we somehow managed to knock the shit out of my fiber box. Couldn't get it going, so I've had 3 kids in a meltdown, and yeah, as a non-qualified IT technician, I somehow managed to get it working and fixed it. So yeah, so I'm back. So yeah, bit of a mad dash from my house to the bar, but yeah, good to be back.
And I'm all good as well, Pete. A bit in mourning though, because all this news about Chris Wood, so I had to dress in black for the occasion of this news of Chris Wood. And you think I'm devastated waiting to see Jordan Cronin?
Yeah, there you go.
I'd just like to add though, Daz, just for those with technicolor blindness, is that's actually, to me, that looks white, the shirt that you're wearing.
Oh, how ironic.
Love it. Well, look, we've got a couple of guests in the green room, and I don't know, Daz, I don't know if you want to take it away. Welcoming this guest on.
Yeah, well, this guest is someone I wouldn't really call him a guest, really. You've seen him around these parts before, but it's absolutely great to have him back. It's Richard. Richie, welcome back.
Woo!
Yeah. Lad.
There's me bro back. Where have you been, lad?
You know exactly where I've been, mate.
How's the hedgehog? That's what I want to know. How's the hedgehog?
Yeah, he's still alive. He's plodding along.
Yeah, that's the main thing. That's the main thing. Well, that's the crew back, and of course, where's Chris? Eating again, out for dinner, no doubt. But
yeah, exactly. lads, the missus has said I can have a free Toby. I'm not coming on. Same as always.
And he's away. Still in his hotel. With Jimmy gave good recommendations for a hotel yesterday, so that was nice. Right, that's the crew. We need some guests. Pete, I'm going to hand it over to you to introduce our first guest.
We've got him back by popular demand. Not seen him since the summer on one of these shows, but great to have his perspective on all things French football, Italian football, just football in general. Lee Davey from TalkSport, Sky Sports, welcome in.
Welcome, Lee.
Hey.
All right, mate. Welcome back.
Hi, guys. How you doing?
Evenly.
All good.
How times have changed since the last time I came on this show. Wow.
Definitely.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's all I can say is wow.
Yeah. Hopefully in a positive though, Lee.
Lots of happy smiling faces.
Yeah,
I can see. Lots of happy faces.
Lee, I want to ask you, just in your opinion, looking in at Newcastle this season, like, how have you assessed what the job of what Eddie Howe's done, the players sitting currently third in the Premier League? Like, how have you know, what's your opinion of it? Because we talk about it all the time, and we're just kind of loving it and riding the wave. But what's your perspective?
Amazing. I think it's fantastic. I think it's so good to see this happening so early. And I know people don't like the word project, but that's what these things are kind of like taglined as now. But in this kind of new process, this new era, I mean, for this to be happening so quickly. Look, we know that a few injuries and things can kind of go down the pan very, very quickly. And I know that when it comes to Newcastle United fans and you guys in general, is that you guys will keep your feet on the ground. You're not stupid people. You know that this is still a work in progress, even though it feels as though things are stepping up very, very quickly. You know, it's a work in progress. And, but at the moment, as it stands, it's phenomenal, and I think it's the consistency. What is it? Is it one defeat, right, in the league? I mean,
Yeah.
the level of consistency. Can't score. Nobody can score past Newcastle. What I mean, rock solid defense, well drilled, fighting for each other. You see the scenes in the dressing rooms after the games, and that is just togetherness. That is just, you can't buy that. You can't buy that. You know, when I look at teams like, perfect example of PSG, where so many individuals, and you spend all the money in the world on all these stars, but there's no togetherness in that squad at that club like you find in Newcastle United. And the way that's kind of been built since Eddie Howe came in, over the last 15 months he came in, it's just been incredible. And you know, when you watch and you see it taking shape and you see reactions from other fans, you know, I think there's a real respect there for Newcastle from, you know, the likes of fans from Manchester United, and it's not even just about the respect. I think there's a real fear factor there, because Newcastle are a hell of a side to, you know, I can't believe the turnaround, how quickly this has kind of all come about. I think that's been the thing for me that's really stood out. Just, you know, this looks like a team that's been together for 4 or 5 years, and they've built this team, and now it's kind of coming to fruition. This isn't, you know, I came on here 12 months ago talking about signings to keep the club up. You know, what you know, talking about Bruno, bringing Bruno in and what he could bring to the side. And we looking, you know, Bruno, you see his reactions after the World Cup saying, you know, I'm back home, I can't wait to get back involved. And, you know, it's like, and that came after his disappointment with Brazil, which was obviously a real huge disappointment at the World Cup. And he's come back and he's, you know, he's firing on all cylinders, and he couldn't wait to get back in the black and white shirt. And, you know, for me, I can't wait to see where this goes. I think it's so intriguing, and it's going to be really fun between now and the end of the season. And that's just the start, because there's going to be another transfer window, and the squad's going to get stronger and better, and it's going to compete, you know, even more next season. So it's fascinating, and it's going to be a really great watch over the coming seasons. Lots to be excited about.
We're coming for PSG, Lee. We're coming for you.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a really weird one, because I spoke to a good friend of mine in Paris, big PSG fan, and I spoke to him and I said, who do you reckon wins the Champions League first, PSG or Newcastle? And he said to me, I have no idea. And that was, yeah, but you take that, and he was being serious. He goes, I don't know. That's quite a statement. That's a huge statement to make. You've got a team that's built for the Champions League, primed for the Champions League. And then you've got Newcastle United, who not even qualified for Europe yet. And you've got a guy who's saying, I don't know. And he's across the channel. So they're keeping close eye on Newcastle over there. You know, I know that French TV are playing a lot more live Newcastle fixtures than they were 3-4 months ago. You know, every Saturday you go on, certainly their broadcasters for the Premier League are you know, focusing on playing, you know, televising Newcastle games. It's growing, it's getting bigger. Eyes are on Newcastle, and long may it continue.
Interesting, very interesting. Great thoughts, and it's always good to get different perspectives of how Newcastle have fared this season. That's for sure. But look, I want to talk about certain players, because obviously you know the French market really well. You scour it really well, and you know your stuff about Italian football as well. But there's one player that actually has been linked quite a lot over from France with Newcastle United in the last few days, and I think it's no surprise that we're looking for a kind of a backup or someone to compete with Kieran Trippier. And there's a right back at Lyon. This young man. I don't know if you can tell us a little bit about him, who he is, and what you've seen from him in French football.
Yeah, so this is, for anyone that doesn't know, this is Malo Gusto. He's come through the youth system at Lyon. Lyon's very trusted and world-famous youth system, one of the best in Europe. It's brought through the likes of, obviously Karim Benzema and Nabil Fekir and Alexandre Lacazette and lots of others that have gone around Europe and gone on to do some really amazing things in football. He's like one of the next players that's come through. They've got quite a nice little production line going on at Lyon at the moment, and he's one of their real big hopes. He kind of broke through about 18 months ago, but this is the season where he's really broke out, and he's played pretty much every game for Lyon. So he's a right back, he's an attacking right back, likes to get forward, he's pretty pacey. Decent delivery. Could, there's still plenty of room for improvement. As I said, he's 19 years old. So, when you don't expect the world from a 19-year-old, but there's certainly so much scope for improvement there for him. There's still some flaws in his game, as you'd expect. He's still a teenager. Sometimes gets caught out of position a little bit from here or there. But he's in the right place. He's developing. He's playing week in, week out for not a great Lyon side, but he is one of the shining lights in that pretty poor Lyon team. He's got a contract until 2024. So there's another, if he is going to go at any point, and if they do decide to cash in on him, then potentially this summer would be the time for him to go. So certainly over the next few months, you'd expect him to either extend his deal or he'll move on. But he's definitely a promising right back. There's no doubt about that. He's potentially. I know he plays for the France under-21s. I see no reason why if he continues to develop, why he shouldn't make the full French team in the coming years. But absolutely, he's got a lot of really good credentials, and certainly will go on to be a great player if he can stay injury free.
Interesting. Boys, I don't know if you know too much about Malo Gusto. I know he's been linked recently. I don't know if you've watched anything of him. But he does look a really good talent, and there's so many teams now that are showing a lot more interest in him than they were before. But I think what's interesting is that Newcastle are looking at these top young players as they're emerging, and that's a really good sign for me. The question I'll ask you boys is that is it pressing that we get a right back in this window? Rich, I'll come to you. We know about Trippier and how good he is, but is it pressing that we get someone that's coming in just in case we have a situation like Bruno and he gets injured?
I think realistically you have to, because at the moment obviously Kraft's out until April time, and the only backup we've really got is Manquillo, and the quality level between Manquillo and Trippier is night and day. So it's you need someone they're both different types of players as well. So, I don't think there's many fullbacks in the whole of the Premier League that are played at the level of Kieran Trippier is, and are that type of fullback either. So, it's a big part of the way Newcastle play. A lot of the play builds up down the right-hand side with him and Almiron, the understanding that they have got. You don't really have that dynamic attacking effect if you've got Manquillo playing. Yes, he tried his best. He had an okay game against Chef Wed, was trying to create stuff down there the right hand side, but he isn't Kieran Trippier, unfortunately. I think the only issue about a right back, and what I've been reading while I've been away from the show, is somebody going to want to come and sit and possibly be a bench warmer for Kieran Trippier for the next, because he really is one of the first names on the team sheet they made. And you're pretty much going to have to wait for him to get injured. It's like the lad from Valladolid as well. He's had 12 starts, and is it really good for his growth to come in? And yes, it would be good to learn behind Trippier, but is he going to really want to be playing? Is it going to be more beneficial for him? Newcastle buy him and perhaps keep him at Valladolid for the next 6 months or whatever, or loan him back for 18 months or whatever. So I think there's a pressing need to have someone as a quality backup behind them. But you've got that problem, as I've just said, who's going to be prepared to come in and be a bench warmer for Trippier at the minute? Yeah.
No, I think it's a fair point. And with Malo Gusto, if he's playing regularly at Lyon and developing his game, is he really going to want to come and sit on the bench and kind of watch from the sidelines? It's a really good point, but no doubt we're going to keep an eye on him. I mean, you've mentioned Fresned. I'm sure we'll discuss him a little bit more, because I think there's been a little bit of movement with him over the last few days. But just before we move to another player, I don't know if we want to. Should we welcome in our additional guest?
Yeah, I just want to. It's kind of fitting. It's going to be his last appearance on a Newcastle channel because Jordan is actually leaving Newcastle World and he's joining Chris Wood at Nottingham World. So here's Jordan Cronin. Hey, Jordan.
Daz, you've had all night to think of an intro, and that's all you've come up with.
That's all. That's in 5 seconds.
He started that at 9:05 this morning when he first saw the headline.
Jordan, welcome to the show. Great to have you on as always. And the team are back together. Liam, Jordan, for the Fully Loaded transfer shows, back in full swing. But great to have you on as always. And look, Daz has already alluded to it. It is the news really for Newcastle today that's come out that I think some fans may want and some fans may not, depending on who you are. Is that, look, Chris Wood, not only is he a target, as reported in the Times, the Athletic, and now Sky are reporting it in the last half an hour, looking as a loan move for Nottingham Forest, it actually looks like it's going to happen. I mean, Jordan, I'll come to you from your perspective. I want to get the boys' perspective on this as well, because that would be interesting. But what do you know with regards to Chris Wood? Is it looking like how it's been reported that it's pretty much a done deal, or is there still a way to go?
Yeah, so from my understanding, there's still a little bit to go, but it does look like that he will leave for Nottingham Forest. I think with Newcastle now, it's just a case of finding a replacement if they already haven't found a replacement. I'd imagine if the Chris Wood deal has progressed, then they'll probably have someone lined up, because they're not going to let him go without bringing someone else in, because, you know, as we've seen with Callum Wilson's injury record, even Alexander Isak as well, he's picked up a bad injury that he's, you know, gradually recovering from as well. So if you let Chris Wood leave, it leaves him very light in that striking position as well. So I do imagine that they will have someone lined up. And look, I think we can all probably agree that I think that, you know, the general mood among Newcastle fans is that Chris Wood's probably been a good signing for what he's been in the short term in terms of helping keeping the club up. Scored a few goals this season into crucial penalties, for example. But overall, I think we can probably agree that he isn't good enough. And that's ultimately what it's came down to. Obviously, Newcastle must feel that they can go and sign someone that's better. And they'll go and do that, I'm sure, if and when Chris Wood leaves the football club. But it looks like he's going to. I don't know how you guys feel, but I don't think many people have many complaints about Chris Wood leaving the club if they do indeed bring someone in. As I said before, I wouldn't say his signing's been unsuccessful. I would argue that it has been a success, because if you look back to that January last season, they were desperate for a striker, and Chris Wood was probably the only player that could go and get who was available, Premier League proven striker, because no one else would sell to Newcastle. Chris Wood was there because of the release clause. They've done that deal. People can have their thoughts on the £25 million, obviously big fee, but he was signed to keep the club in the division, and, you know, the £25 million has probably been paid back by him helping them do that. So yeah, I think it's been a successful one. But in terms of long term, I don't see Chris Wood challenging, you know, Callum Wilson or Alexander Isak for that starting spot. So it's a good move for him if he does go to Nottingham Forest. He stays in the Premier League. You'll have an opportunity to keep them up as well. You know, Nottingham Forest have improved over the last few months as well. So he could be potentially playing Premier League football next season as well if this loan turns into a permanent. So I think, you know, the deal, if it does go through, is a deal that's, you know, best for both parties, really.
Mark, what are your thoughts hearing the Chris Wood is leaving the club? He surprised, obviously, at times over the course of since he signed, nearly a year now. You know, there's times where you've backed him, you know, in situations, and you know, I have as well, and I think there's maybe a few of us that haven't. But no, you know, from your perspective, you know, what have you made of the news that Chris Wood could be leaving?
Well, I think if he does go, the first thing I want is 2 days of national mourning. So let's get out the way first. No, look, before we even signed him, we sat on a couple of shows, and when we were looking at strikers and stuff, and obviously, we were looking at back up to Wilson, I said Chris Wood a few times would be, for me, an ideal kind of player. Bit of a shithouse forward, gets in, ruffles defenses, good in the air, and a good worker, good team player, good grafter, which I think is what we needed. I think when we got him from Burnley, it did two things. As Jordan said, it kept us in the league. He scored, as much as Dad said he would never score for us. I remember distinctly him saying that on the show. Penalties, no. Dad said he would never score. I have the text somewhere. He did get a handful of goals. Is he prolific? No. But I think to be fair to him, look, he is a grafter. Kept us in the league. It weakened Burnley, who was a relegation rival. So I think, look, that in itself was a piece of business to take away a threat. 25 million, was it a bit extortionate? Yeah, but look, we paid the clause, we got him, and he did a job. But I think to be fair to him, from a goals ratio, we didn't play it to his style. Chris Wood is the type of player that you need to be getting wingers down, whipping a ball in a pace, and he's up in the air, heading it in. I think pretty much, very much like the Southampton goal. So for me, I don't think you could be critical of his time. I'd wish him all the best. I think certainly reading tonight, it's a loan deal with an option to make it permanent. I think he's still got gas in the tank. Is he going to be prolific at Forest? I wouldn't think so. But then he could go down there and score 10 this season, and you got to look at it. Would he come back? I don't. I think if he goes, I don't think we see him coming back. And as Jordan said, I don't think the club, and in particular Eddie, are daft enough to be able to let this deal go through if we haven't got something lined up. So so welcome Danny Ings.
Welcome Danny Ings.
Oh, thank you.
Imagine, if that comes off, lads, I'm not in the know. Do you know what I
mean? I'm coming for you if you get that.
Exactly. That happens. Yeah, I'm definitely never coming back.
I'm sure you've been shedding many a tear today.
Hang on. Yeah, ready now. Devastated, Pete. No. Seriously though, he did serve a purpose for us. He kept us up. He helped keep us up, and he was a great. He was a target man for us last season. He's when we had to play him though, he just doesn't cut the mustard for us. We're in a different place now. Back when we originally talked about this, back in the Mike Ashley days, we talked about Chris Wood as an option, and back then he was a bit younger as well. It would have been a good option for us, but yeah, we've moved on from that now. Wish him all the best at Forest if it goes through. I think he'll do a great job there. And as Jordan said, I think he will keep them up, and I'd like to see Forest stay up. But we're moving on to bigger and better, younger, more mobile, faster strikers, and because Wilson is on a bit on the decline as well. Like he'd be kind of more maybe a squad player next season. So let's change it up and have another alternative for us, because we can never trust Wilson staying fit for the rest of the season, and we've Isaac, of course. But but best of luck to Chris Wood.
Definitely. Richie, thoughts on Chris Wood? And look, my question to you is, how quickly do we need to sign, and who's out there that would come and play maybe third fiddle to Wilson and Isaac?
Danny Ings.
That's another intriguing question, isn't it? To be honest with you, I think with this regime now in, it's not like the old one where we tended to let people go and not have anybody lined up. So I'm not concerned that there's not anyone coming in, especially with there being 2 weeks of the window left. But as you say, it's who's that third person going to be? That's going to be, as we said about, who's going to come and sit behind Trippier, who's going to come and sit behind Wilson and Isak. It's a really interesting one. I thought you might have been throwing a name in like your mate down the road at Southampton, and Shea Adams or something like that. He would probably not be a bad third shout. I know you'd be over the moon if he came up and Peter. But it's one of those things. It's like I don't know. I think there's a lot of people. This is one that's really caught a lot of people off guard. Yes, there was the rumors going around this morning, but there has to be someone lined up. There's got to be one of these deals that's gone right under the radar, and hopefully be named. Next couple of days, possibly before the game against Palace, if needs be.
Yeah, I'm just looking at Mike Kent's question or comment on there. We would be saying I still can't believe that Chris Wood is on 100 grand a week at Newcastle. I still cannot believe it. I can't get my head around it. 100 grand a week. So
that was the start of his downfall. But that information was put out there.
I don't think Chris Wood is on 100 grand a week.
I don't think he's on that either. I think he's probably closer to 60, I'd say.
Someone mentioned to us that he was on 100 grand a week. I didn't think he was. I couldn't believe it. But someone mentioned that he was on 100 grand a week. And I've just been for weeks now just
obsessing about it.
Not obsessing, just in shock. But if you're telling
I
me
wouldn't say he's on that.
That makes me a little bit more comfortable with that. Look, we'll don't start. Right. I know we've got a number of players, interesting players, that I want to come to Lee about that we've been, some of that have been linked with, and then I want to get his thoughts on one or two players that are kind of standing out for in French football at the moment. But I hope I pronounced his name wrong. Right, sorry. But he's a young talent come out of nowhere that's performing really, really well at Run. Desiree Doué, is that right?
Desiree Doué.
Desiree Doué, nearly right.
Yeah.
How has he just come out of nowhere and he's putting in top performances that are getting some of Europe's top players and top clubs interested in him, including Newcastle, who have been linked with him. What have you seen from him? And I know he's a young lad still, but can you see him making the step so early in his career?
First of all, this is very normal in French football. Again, they don't have the TV deal there. They don't have the huge finances, PSG aside, but they don't generate huge money. So they rely heavily on their youth system. We know that in France, certainly their coaching and their reliance on youth is, obviously paramount. That's why they've got such a huge pot to choose from in the French national team. That's why there's just so much kind of depth there for them. Is another one that's come through the Rennes system. Again, we look back at people like Ousmane Dembele, who did exactly the same. They've got a couple of decent young defenders that are coming through as well, and a couple of good midfielders. But Rennes are a decent side. They beat PSG Sunday. And they had a few players out. This gentleman here, Desiree Doué, he is kind of like he's like their main man. They're their new youngster, their new product that's coming through. They've just tied him down to a deal to 2025. He's 17 years old. He's a young chap. Played against the likes of Neymar and Messi the other day on Sunday. Did not in any way, shape, or form show himself up. Really solid performance in Rennes' 1-0 win. Attacking midfielder. He is really eye for goal. He's right-footed. He's confident. Happy to take players on. Good footwork. Pretty quick. Pretty nippy, as you'd expect. At 17. Good future ahead of him. I know Rennes rate him highly. That's why they tied him down to his first professional contract very, very quickly. I know there's one or two clubs that are already kind of tracking him. And the future's certainly bright for him. I could see him getting into the French under-21 setup, sooner rather than later. He scored a few goals as well this season, which has been, again, just to add to his skill set. I think he's got 3 in all competitions, which is not a bad return for such a young talent. But yeah, I know they've got really high hopes from at Rennes, and we'll see certainly how it goes. Hopefully, and obviously unless it's Newcastle, of course, hopefully he doesn't kind of get offloaded too early like Ousmane Dembele did, and we can stick around and develop a little bit in Ligue 1. I know we spoke about, Ekitike before and needing to spend that little bit more time in France before kind of moving abroad. I think this guy certainly needs at least another season or two to maybe 18 months in France. I could be wrong. He could, off he pops to Newcastle. You don't know. I don't know how strong that interest is, but I'd be surprised to see him go, certainly in this window. I know that he's very much at home. He's a Brittany-born boy. He's from the Brittany area, which is where Rennes is the part of France that Rennes is. So I can see him sticking around for a little bit, but certainly want to keep an eye on.
Interesting. It was interesting that we're linked with him, and he's literally come out of nowhere. I want to stick with the French team because I know we haven't got you for long, Lee, and I want to just throw out a few players for you. And we've got Khéphren Thuram at Nice. He looks like the type of player that we should be looking at. We're looking at for like a sort of defensive midfielder, number 6 type player, big physical. Seems to be having a good season at Nice. Like, what are your thoughts with regards to Khéphren Thuram? Can he come and make that move to Newcastle?
Definitely, yeah. I don't think he'll stick around too long at Nice. I'll be honest with you. He's got the world at his feet. He's big, strong, tall guy. You might have seen 1 or 2 clips of him. Absolutely, there was a clip of him probably a few weeks ago where he absolutely tore through an entire team. I think Nice were playing a friendly. I don't know if 1 or 2 of you guys may have seen that on the internet. And it was an incredible piece of play. I think he literally took on about 7 or 8 players and he just overpowered all of them. He's a big, strapping young lad. If a number 6 is what you're looking for, that real physical presence, he's certainly going to be a player that you would turn your attentions to. Scored a really good goal last week when they beat Montpellier 6-1. I could see him moving on. I could see him probably moving on as early as this summer. He's got a lot of talent. He's certainly ambitious from what we can tell and looking for that big move. I know PSG are interested in him, and I know there's been interest from abroad as well. So I can see him moving on, certainly. Whether it'll be this window or not, but certainly later on in the year, I could see him moving on. Also, with the issues at Nice have not really, their project seems to be flailing, and obviously they're owned by Sir Jim Ratcliffe, who is, obviously put his interest out there in buying Manchester United. So what the future looks like for Nice is really not very clear at the moment. So it might be an opportunity for him to get out and certainly offload some of these players, because Nice's project is really on the wane a little bit. And I think for a player as ambitious as Khéphren Thuram, I don't think he'll be sticking around at Nice too long.
Rich, I think there's a couple of other centre midfielders that we've been linked with, hasn't there?
Yeah, I don't know if anyone else has seen the Athletic article that was released earlier on, but it was just they did a profile of who Newcastle could potentially look at, and obviously they came up with the 25 names that are best, percentiles and all that sort of stuff. 2 of the names that we'd heard of was Caicedo and Tielemans, which we know all about already. But the 2 names that, they were looking a bit more outside the box and overseas, and I know Lee has a fantastic knowledge of League 1, but also Serie A. So that's why I wanted to ask about the 2 names. First up was Youssef Fofana at Monaco, who the tipped as a potentially fantastic player who would fit that role. But also Sasa Lukic at Torino. So I don't know if you knew much about both of those.
Yeah, Youssef Fofana, first and foremost, is a really, really good talent. He's just broken through the last couple of years at Monaco, and he's really kind of made that midfield his own. Issue for Monaco, I think Monaco are still reeling because they had a fantastic centre midfield partnership with him and obviously Aurelien Tchouameni, who went to Real Madrid. And I can see Fofana certainly moving on at some point in the near future as well. Monaco, again, rely heavily on their youth system, and then they'll sell, and then they'll bring somebody else through. And, again, like many French teams, that's the method of operating for them. I think he'll move on. I think he'll get his move. I know he's, been in and around the French squad. So he's very highly rated, real tough tackling midfielder, but there's so much more to his game than that. He chips in with the odd goal. nice range of passing. He's aggressive when he needs to be aggressive, and he would be definitely an asset for a club with ambitions of playing top level European football. Again, he won't be at Monaco for long. Again, maybe another year maximum, but a player that certainly will be on the market if the right offer comes in. Really good player, in Fofana. Lulic at Torino. Sorry, at Torino. I've seen snippets of him. Serie A. I've been watching some Serie A. I've not watched as much as I did last season of Serie A, but I know that he's very, very highly rated. I've seen snippets of him. Again, a really good player there. In Torino, I know that in terms of their system, there they will. Any decent offer that comes in for a Torino player, they'll sell. They've not got bags and bags of cash at that club. And usually, I know they got rid of Gleison Bremer in the summer, which was their real star player. He went to Juventus. Belotti, obviously, his contract ran out and he went to Roma. He's at Roma now. So when it comes to, offloading their big players, they're usually all ears if a decent deal comes in. But yeah, there's some great players around Europe and certainly players that can enhance Newcastle United. They've got to be the right player, of course, because what Eddie Howe's building is an incredible harmony within that squad. And it's going to be hard to, usurp the players that are there at the moment in that midfield. So whoever's going to come in has got to really add that extra quality and be ready for a huge battle and competition for places. Because, as I said, right now, Newcastle are absolutely flying, and every week there's 11 players that are putting an absolute shift in for Eddie Howe. So, anybody that comes in is going to have to match that work rate. He's going to have to adapt very quickly to the methods, to the club, to the country. So it doesn't matter what you've done at Monaco or what you've done in Torino or anywhere else. I think coming to Newcastle United now is going to be a challenge for anyone. They're not just going to walk into that team anymore. It's not a case of, we're going to bring this player in and he's going to, and he's going to walk straight into this team. This is a very, very different Newcastle United. This is a very, very different football club now. So, whatever's gone before, there's some work to be done for any potential new signers that come into the club.
Definitely. I know we've only got you for a couple of minutes. Just to wrap up on all things like French football and just players in general. There was kind of two players that you wanted to kind of highlight in Ligue 1 that have really stood out for you this season. One of them we know quite well, actually. I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about him. And it's Jonathan David, who was linked with us this time last year.
Yeah. So he's a Canadian international. You might have seen him in the World Cup, and he plays for Lille. He's been at Lille for a few years now, and he's getting better and better, and he's becoming more prolific. He's got 12 goals this season, only one behind top scorer Kylian Mbappe. Really, again, pacey and strong and a good finisher, great eye for goal. He's going to go. We thought he'd go last summer. I know that Lille said he was going to, he's going to be one of the players that would leave after Sven Botman. I'm sure Sven's got his number. Who knows what the future holds? But no, a really good player, someone that I can see in the Premier League, certainly, whether that's with Newcastle or whether that's with somebody else. But as I said, a really good goal scorer. He's improving year after year after year. And his time at Lille is definitely coming to an end. I think he'll be gone in the summer. But whoever gets him will be getting a fantastic striker. Been bang on form this season. Really good form. Really prolific. And keep an eye on him. Very good player.
And there's one more from is it FC Lorient?
Yeah. I think West Ham have been linked with Terem Moffi again, like Jonathan David. Terem Moffi's won 12 goals. Nigerian international. He's been linked with West Ham. I think West Ham were really interested in bringing him in this month. I would hate to see him go there just because of the state that the club's in at the moment. It's a bit of a mess. It would feel a bit like a waste. Like Lucas Paqueta. I still sit there and think, what the hell is he doing at West Ham? I just doesn't make any sense. We've spoke at length about him as well, and he's sitting at, he's at West Ham. Yes, I'm sure he's on a pretty nice wage down there, but what a really poor career decision. It has to be said, and I hope that Terry Moffey doesn't do that. And I'm sorry if any West Ham fans that have tuned into this, but Terry Moffey has got a really good future ahead of him. He's 23 years old, 12 goals for the season. Really good really good season last season. He's just come back from injury and he's hit the ground running again. But again, somebody that I think we'll be hearing a lot more of in the future. Primed for a Premier League move, and we'll see where he ends up. But really good striker. Nice finisher.
Yeah, let's hope he doesn't go to West Ham. That's for sure. We've already ruined one of our links, and you talked about it in Lucas Paqueta. There's people that are actually saying Lucas Paqueta's like crap. He's rubbish. He's not a good player.
He's really not. He's just at the wrong football club.
He is. He really is. It was the worst move he could have possibly made.
It was a poor move. Really, I was shocked. I couldn't believe it. What a poor move. I know he's good friends with Bruno. I wonder what they discuss. I wonder what he says to Bruno, or, about this career move, because it's it's a bit of a mess. I mean, I think they're 18th in the league. I'm not saying that they're going to go down, but it just regardless of what West Ham did this season, it just didn't feel like the right fit for him. It just didn't feel right from the start. The guy starts for Brazil. He starts for Brazil. He's in the first 11, and you've got to be some player to be able to do that. So it just didn't feel right. But something tells me he won't be there too long anyway.
Yeah, I hope so. For his sake more than anyone else. And look, I have to just before I let you go, I have to bring up Seko Watch. How's he getting on this season? Everyone seems to continue to ask us in the chat every now and again, the Seko Watch, how's he getting? Oh, there you go.
There we go. Jimmy Washington straight away.
Oh, Daz is on the button. Love it.
Okay, so I said to you this time last year, I said to you, there's no chance he still plays for Lens past September. Well, what do I know? He's there, and Lens are 3 points off the top. There is a title race in France, people. Believe it or not, there is a title race in France. I'm telling you.
They beat PSG.
Lens have been fantastic. The 3 points. Sorry?
They beat PSG, didn't they?
They did on New Year's Day, 3-1. Yeah. They're 3 points behind PSG. They're 2 points ahead of Marseille. So they're nicely in second place. Here's the thing. I'm not going to put my neck on the line this time and say that he's going to leave this summer, because it's looking increasingly like Lens will be playing Champions League football next season. So that he'll be on the stage where he should be. But obviously, if that offer comes in, then he'll be off. The thing is about it with Seko Fofana is that he's just such a beautiful player to watch. He is so mesmerizing when he's on the ball, powerful, he can shoot. He's just, he's everywhere. Again, I know, the cliche made for the Premier League, but, that work rate, he's such a workhorse, but he's technical with it. So he will be that stereotypical cover every blade of grass type of player. Captain, leader, he's got everything that you want in a midfielder. Still have no idea why PSG didn't go in for him. Again, could have got him for, I think Lens wanted 30 million for him. I didn't understand why they didn't go for him, but look, he's whoever he goes to eventually is going to get one hell of a midfielder. And he's been fantastic this season. He's just been their captain, fantastic. And I really hope that they get Champions League, and they might even win the title. And I know people might laugh at that, but it feels like in France that this season, it's going to be one of those seasons where PSG go deep in the Champions League, but struggle to win a Ligue 1. It feels like it might be one of those seasons. I mean, Lille won it 2 years ago, and it could be that. It really, really could be that. So it's worth just keeping an eye on. And if, any chance to watch Seko Fofana play, tune in. Wonderful, wonderful talent. Can Newcastle get him? Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think any team can get him if they put the bid in. I think, you're not going to get him for 30 million now. I think he's took his level, he's took his quality to another level this season. You may be looking at 40 odd million, but he'd be worth every penny. He really, really would. So we'll see where
did he not sign a new contract as well in this season as well?
He did. Yeah. I don't know if you've seen footage of that. He signed it on the pitch.
Brought out the shirt and everything with the dog.
That's right. They made a really big song and dance about it. It was actually really, really nice to watch. He was in tears as he signed it. It was actually really, really kind of emotional when he signed it. But yeah, I mean, obviously, Lons are safeguarding that. They don't want him to go on a cheap. They don't want him to go for a cheap fee or on a free transfer. And I think he respects the club enough. But look, this is a French football team we're talking about. That's not PSG. If a deal comes in, they'll sell. If the deal comes in, they'll sell, because that is their model. And as much as they wouldn't want to lose their captain, he will go if the right offer comes in, and he'll want to go and test himself at a higher level if that opportunity arises. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
I just one question before you run off, Lee, and I hear rumors that you're going to be you might be on our screens more often on Sky Sports News. Is this a stepping stone for your own cooking channel eventually, or what can you tell us?
Yeah, absolutely. It's all about the cooking. Yeah, absolutely. Yes. Yeah. No, yeah. I'm heading down to Sky Sports next week. So I'm going to be joining the team at Sky Sports News. I'm not sure you'll see me on the screen, as soon as next week. But we'll see what the future holds. But certainly, yeah, we're helping to produce the shows down there as well. So with your good friend Pete Graves. So yeah, I'm heading down there next week. So I'll be joining the team. Yeah.
Congratulations and best of
luck.
luck.
Thank you.
Congrats.
Cheers. Thanks a lot. Cheers. Thank you.
Look, Lee, we'll let you go. We always keep you longer than expected. I feel so bad.
It's all right. No worries. My daughter, I'm usually fine, but my daughter's ready to get in bed. I mean, I've nicked the bedroom, so she's ready to get into bed. Yeah, I'm gonna have to. I'm gonna have to get out of the room. I've been banished. I've got nowhere. I'll be doing these out of the car soon. Honestly, seriously, everyone's nicked every room in the house. So, but no, it's all good. It's all good. Always great to come on and see you guys. It's been a while, so hopefully the next time I see you, there'll be a trophy. There'll be a trophy to talk about.
Fingers crossed.
Absolutely.
Top man. You take care, Lee. We'll speak to you soon.
Brilliant. Look after yourselves, guys. Great to see you all.
Take care, Lee.
Cheers,
take it easy, Lee.
Cheers.
All right.
Quality. Always great to have Leon and give his perspective on all things French football. And there's a few players there to keep an eye on, that's for sure, moving forward. But John, we'll fly straight back to yourself in that it looks like, and I want to get your perspective on this. I think we touched on this yesterday, but it looks like Karius may well be extending his stay at Newcastle, and possibly Darlow moving out. What are your just initial thoughts on that move? Do you think it's the right move? Are you happy that potentially Karius could be staying?
Yeah, so I mean, it came a bit of a surprise to me when I read the news, because I asked about Karius a couple of weeks ago, and what I got back was that there was a fair distance between both parties' negotiations. So I thought Karius was going to leave the club. I believe his deal was his deal's at the end of the month, but I think it was a couple of days before the end of the month, so it was sort of towards deadline day. But yeah, no, it sounds like he is going to stay, and I think that probably indicates that Caldolo's going to have has an offer. A lot of Championship clubs interested in Caldolo. I know he's quite happy on Tyneside, but it's an opportunity for him to go and play regular first team football, which he hasn't really done for a lot of years now as well. And Loris Karius seems quite happy to be the number 3, if you like, with a view to potentially going up with number 2 next season, depending on Martin Dubravka's future. But no, I think it's a good move. I think we've had this conversation or discussion in the past about sort of the Karius-Darlow debate, and I've always thought that, based on sort of Karius's experiences in football, playing Champions League finals, playing for Liverpool, etc. as well, I think probably Karius is a better option than Caldolo. But that's not trying to do any disservice to Caldolo, because he's been here quite a lot of years now. Was it 2014, 2015? I think around about when him and Jamal Lascelles arrived from Nottingham Forest. So he's been here a long time. And look, when he's been called upon, I think he's rarely let the club down, really. So I'm sure he'll leave with a lot of good wishes. But I think Newcastle are just holding back on sending them out on loan at the moment, just in case something happens with a Martin Dubravka or Nick Pope. So, the last thing you want to do is then call Dahl out on loan, and then you've only got two keepers, and Loris Karius or Martin Dubravka, Loris Karius and Nick Pope as well. So if he is to leave, I think it'll be a late one in the window. But there's certainly interest in Darlow, and I think that sort of helped the negotiations with Karius. The fact that Carl Darlow's got an offer there, and Karius is quite keen to stay. So again, best for both parties really that Carl Darlow goes out and gets regular first team football in the championship, and Loris Karius, I'd imagine, will get a decent pay packet for being a 3 for half the season. I think it will be a deal at the end of the season, and then in the summer, I think that's when Newcastle will look to negotiate potentially a longer term deal with Karius, and that's when we could potentially see him step up as a number 2. But happy for Caldolo that if a move does go through, because as I say, I know he's been keen to play regular first team football, and happy for Loris Karius as well, because I spoke to him in Riyadh, and he was he's really keen to stay and buy into the Newcastle project. So good move for him. He's quite happy here training with top level goalkeepers in terms of Nick Pope. So I think it's one that the movement and the goalkeeping department probably again works for everyone.
Mark, I'm going to come to you, and Jordan. I'd like to get your opinion on these 3 players. I'm going to throw 3 players up to you that have been linked with us heavily in the Premier League in the last week or so. Conor Gallagher, Ruben Neves, Scott McTominay. All 3 have been linked with us. Some more heavily than others. It's clearly a position we need to strengthen in. Who are you going for?
Well, I think I'd discount McTominay straight away. Just another Sean Long stuff for me. So I don't think we really get much added to that. I like Ruben Neves. I think he's a quality baller. I think he'd bring plenty to the team, to what we need. Obviously, we know he can play a long ball, even though when we played him, he said he didn't play a long ball, but he does. But he's a good passer of the ball. He's got a good engine. He can tackle. He can spray a pass, short and long. So I think he would do a job. Would I take him? Absolutely. I think he'd add to the team. I think he would be better than what we have at the minute. With Gallagher, I liked him. I liked him when he went to West Brom. He played. I think he was playing for West Brom when he played up at St James's a couple of seasons ago, and I was raving about him because I think he tore our midfield apart at that time. And I kind of said at that point, he's the kind of player I thought we could do with. He was full of energy, never stopped running. He was ferocious. He got stuck in. He played good ball. So I like him. I think Gallagher is the kind of player that Eddie would get a tune out of. I think he's young enough to learn still, whereas Neves is that bit older, probably more ready, I suppose. But I think there's enough talent in Gallagher as well. So I suppose if we're going with the club's policy of a bit of a younger edge, I suppose Gallagher on loan probably isn't a bad deal to be done. But I think if I was to flip the two, I would take Neves if I had to have a choice.
Okay, yeah, Ruben Neves, top player. Richie, I'll come to you. Same 3 players. I'll add one more in there who's also been linked. Ruben Loftus-Cheek at Chelsea as well. Obviously linked in the last couple of days. Who out of the 4 would you look at?
You might as well have left it at the 3, mate. To be honest, I've got to agree with everything that Mark says. I think Neves is, for me, out of those 3, is just hands down that he's the type of player we need as well. I do think, as Martin said, I think Conor Gallagher is a fantastic player. He's got a lot of promise and stuff like that. But it just seems to be adamant he just wants to stay at Chelsea and try and fight through his place. And I don't know why. He had a really good season at Crystal Palace, and he really needed to kick on this season. which he hasn't done. And obviously with the high turnover of players that Chelsea are going through now, he's probably not likely to. But if he's happy to sit on the bench rather than come to a team in a much better position than what his current club are, then so be it. So for me on that front, yes, he's a good player, but he doesn't seem to have that desire to want to come to Newcastle. Whereas with Neves, I think there's probably that he's never had, played for a big six club yet, and Newcastle are on the up. He's a fantastic age as well, and just all the things that we've said that he likes, but obviously he's fantastic with set pieces as well. He's a penalty taker as well. He can take a decent free kick as well, even from a little bit further out than what Trippier does. So it gives you another weapon in attacking positions for Newcastle as well. He's a captain as well. He's another leader. We've said this before. We've got lots of leaders on the pitch, and he brings that to me, hands down, Ruben Neves out of those.
I can't because we talked about this before. Who did you go for out of the? List?
Mine was simple. A little recap: McCallum, no. Ruben Loftus-Cheek, no. Ruben Neves, yes, definitely buy him if you could. And he is to me, he's a young. Younger version of John Joe Shelby that can do an awful lot more than John Joe Shelby as well. And Conor Gallagher, yes, definitely as buy him as well. He's only 22, but yeah, will he go? But we're not going to take him on loan because the players need to be committed to Newcastle. And yeah, Chelsea wouldn't loan either. If they need to offload players, we'll gladly buy, but no, not nothing else. And that was my answers on the four of them yesterday, and maybe throw in Tielemans as well into that mix then as well to add a fifth. And yeah, I'd love to see us snapping him up as well, and Eddie Howe can get the best out of him. We'd be interested to see what Jordan thinks if we get any of those.
Yeah. I was just going to say, if I can't have Gallagher, can I have Pulisic instead? Then please.
He's injured though.
It doesn't matter. He'll get over an injury, but he's. I thought he was class at the World Cup for the States.
Yeah.
I thought he was by far one of the best players. Certainly for them, but I thought he was one of the better players of the tournament as well. I'd love to see Pulisic. I think he could do an amazing job for us.
Yeah, I agree. Jordan, I'm going to come to those players because I want to get your thoughts on sort of those players really that we've just talked about, those four, because they've been heavily linked with us recently. Are they, from your perspective and from what you're hearing, are they just kind of like agent talk, or is there genuine interest in the likes of Ruben Neves, Scott McTominay, Conor Gallagher? You've got Ruben Loftus-Cheek in there. Those four players. What you're hearing?
Yeah, so I don't know if you remember back in the summer we actually spoke about a potential loan from Chelsea because of the amount of players they were bringing in. And I think that connection has always been there between Newcastle and Chelsea because if you go back to the end of last season, I think it was the summer as well, Miranda Stadium, Murdoch Adusi were pitched at the Stamford Bridge with Todd Bowley, the Chelsea owner. So I think that relationship has always been there, and their three names I think the interest is genuine. Whether they will go and get any of those three, I'm not too sure. But I think there's a situation with Chelsea where they may need to take out a European player from the Champions League squad. So that would leave, again, this sort of our topic. But if you think back the three names that were linked, it was Ziyech, Conor Gallagher and Loftus-Cheek. So what I'm trying to say is that the link with Chelsea, there's a relationship between the two clubs, and any names that come from there, there's always a potential. From Chelsea, I would absolutely take Conor Gallagher because I see him as a big upgrade on Sean Longstaff. I think what the role that Conor Gallagher plays would be the sort of the right side of that midfield three rather than being a sitter. And as I say, I think he gives that a little bit extra quality in terms of finishing, etc. Because I think what we've seen with Sean Longstaff in the last few weeks is he's out of possession stuff is incredible. His work rate, the press, he's excellent at all of that, but he's just really bad at finishing chances. And I think Conor Gallagher would give you probably that little bit of extra quality in the box. But I think the most pressing thing for Newcastle at the moment is the sitting midfielder position. Because Bruno said it himself, Bruno wants to play as a number 8. He wants to be box to box. And at the minute, obviously, he's playing in that sitting role because of the Shelby injury. So I'd like to see Bruno pushed up. And obviously that leaves, I think Ruben Neves would be the one that would naturally come in and fulfill that sitting position. With that, yeah, there's interest, but you talk about transfer fees. I can't imagine Wolves are going to want to sell him on the cheap. I think he's got a year left on his contract come the summer, so could be potentially one that they explore then, but they're going to have to pay over the odds, I think, to get someone like Ruben Neves in this transfer window. Although he would be my preferred choice, I'm sure plenty of other fans would agree as well, because there's been a couple of times where, even at Molineux early on the season, where he scored a screamer against Newcastle as well. So he's got that in his locker, as Dal mentioned. He's got the set pieces in his locker. Just an all round technically gifted footballer. But I'd be surprised that happened this transfer window, unless there was major movement on Wolves' side in terms of a transfer fee. The other one, Scott McTominay. So Eddie Howe denied that there was contact with Scott McTominay, but from what I was told, Newcastle did inquire about Scott McTominay, but Manchester United said that there was no chance of him letting him go. So, so if Scott McTominay was to somehow become available in the latter stage of the transfer window, then there's potential that Newcastle could do a deal, potentially a loan move. But at the moment, Manchester United are adamant that he's not leaving. So again, at the minute, that's a no-go. I think I've covered everyone there, have I? Have I missed anyone?
You've covered everyone that we've mentioned. Look, we know that Newcastle are clearly looking for a central midfielder. So I'm going to throw 2 more names out there for you all to talk about. SMS. Milinkovic-Savic has been linked with Newcastle United heavily recently, to the point where there was talk that we'd actually put a 60 million bid in. Whether that's come to fruition or not, I don't know. We haven't heard anything yet. And of course, the one that hasn't gone away since before the window opened is Yuri Tillemans, who has 6 months left on his contract. Looking at a fee of maybe around 20 million to probably prize him away from Leicester City. I mean, boys, from your perspective, this is out to all of you now. So whoever comes back it's a free for all. Out of those 2 players, obviously they are immensely talented. Let's start with Milinkovic-Savic. Is there in your minds a realistic view that we could get a player like him? I think he's 26, 27. Tremendous player. We all know that, and he's doing great things in Serie A. Is that realistic, or do you think that's sort of like
whoever that is really shit at the Cups game?
That's just the wife, so I'll let you take that up with her. I'm sure she'll respond to you in April. No doubt about it.
Yeah, I'm sure she will. Yeah. I'll be the drunk one by the bar. I don't think. Here's my view. I don't think Napoli sell Savic at the moment. I don't think they sell. Is he someone we can get? Yeah, absolutely. Because I think we got Bruno, so I think we shouldn't underestimate how good a deal we can sell to players now. I think Bruno himself, was chatting as part of the interview with Sky there and said lots of players want to come to Newcastle. So I don't believe for 1 minute that there isn't a player that we can't get, but I don't see them. I don't see them selling him at the moment. I think Tielemans is probably more of an option, but I think his wages will be a stumbling block. I think he'd need to come down severely from what he's looking for. From all accounts, he's looking for about 200 grand a week. Would we pay that? I don't think so. So, I can't see us getting either of those 2 unless wage demands come down and Lazio have a massive change of heart. I don't think they happen.
Are we all in agreement that Tielemans out of those 2 is the more likely option? Would we all agree that if we were going to get one of the 2, Tielemans is the likelihood?
Yeah, but the only thing with Tillmans, and someone said in the chat as well, is the whole wages thing and how much will he be looking for, and how far we're willing to go. I imagine in the summer we're going to change up our structure a little bit, especially if we go to get Champions League football. But yeah, and other players may need to match that, like Bruno upward as well. Maybe Bruno get a new contract, which would be great. Yeah, SMS and Lazio, they're fifth in Serie A, and
everybody's beating everybody in that league at the minute.
Yeah,
Apart from
I don't
Napoli,
know.
who are hammering everybody.
I'd be surprised if we rocked up, and then Arsenal may show their hand as well, because we're looking at them before as well, and now that they didn't get Mudryk, they have a bit of money there left to buy someone. So yeah, Tillman's a B.
The midfield piece is intriguing though, Pete, because I still firmly believe that Newcastle want Maddison. I still think he's the number one target above all else.
Let's discuss it. Why not?
Jordan's laughing. So he either knows something or he thinks I'm a dickhead.
No, I can't be discussing James Maddison again. It's every week. Move on.
I agree with Jordan.
I know he's injured. I still think, I still believe that he is. Maybe it'll be summer, but I'm still convinced James Maddison will be in a black and white shirt at some stage.
You say that, but there was new reports today. Lewis Winter, Newcastle really love James Maddison and drew up plans to attack the transfer again, whether that means the summer or January, we don't know. But where there's a Maddison talk, I'm happy to discuss that.
To be fair, he was at the darts holding up a sign.
Well,
yeah, there you go.
It wasn't doctored at all.
No, wasn't anything at all. But you're actually right.
It was done with a highlighter and a marker pen. It must be true.
But look, Richie, Jordan, both Mart and Daz have said, the wages could be or is the major stumbling block. In my mind, I don't know whether it is. I don't think there's an issue there. I've got my theory on why I think we may have not already gone for Tielemans. It's clear that we're interested in him, unless Jordan tells us differently from what he maybe knows. But from the links and all the talk before January and beyond, it looked like he was a clear player of interest. Do you both think that, that wages are going to be that major stumbling block? I personally don't think they are.
Go on, Jordan.
No, I don't think there will be. But what I would say the Tielemans deal is that he's one of several players that are under consideration. So it's hard to sit here and say that it'll happen. Will it happen or will it not? I don't know, because Newcastle have got plenty of cards up the sleeve that the could potentially play at the end of the transfer window. The only thing I would say with Tielemans, and I'll probably get hammered for this in the chat, but the last two times that Newcastle have played Leicester, I think Tielemans has been really, really underwhelming. And I just wonder if that plays in Eddie Howe's mind a little bit as well. Because he just looks like a player lost at Leicester. He looks like a player that's really lost his way.
Very disinterested when he played against us.
He was.
Quite lazy as well. He didn't really backtrack at all. I actually spent a good bit of time watching him and watched it again afterwards. And he was very, very poor at tracking back. He didn't seem interested in getting into the play. If it wasn't around him, he didn't seem bothered at all with what was going on around him.
The thing is, though, lads, and I'll throw this back at you. We see how good he is, but do you not think he's really missing having Maddison alongside him? Because if you look at the quality that's come in to replace him, there isn't that quality in there. To me, indeed, he isn't that quality as he has been. You've got Dewsbury Hall. He's a good young player up and coming, but he's not like a James Maddison as well. For me, I just don't think. I think he feels though they're in such a lull at the minute, Leicester, that he feels like he's fighting a lost cause in that midfield by himself, and perhaps that's why he's looking so out of his depth, because Newcastle's midfield at the minute are running rings around a lot of midfields in the Premier League, not just Leicester. So for me, I think would you see it better if he had better quality around him?
Yeah, I mean that's one way to look at it. But I just think if he's been at Leicester quite a few seasons, and they've invested a lot of money in him in terms of player, and I don't like the fact that Leicester are in a bit of a downward spiral, and he just has seemed to have chucked the towel in. And I think, look, it probably suggests that he's ready for a move.
Ready for a move. Yeah, he's switched off already.
Just on him. I suppose he has been at Leicester and hasn't he won a league and an FA Cup, so he's doing okay.
Just an FA Cup. FA Cup.
Was he not there for the league?
Shield.
Oh, okay.
I just think if you know Newcastle United are interested, you want to turn up for 2 games this season. It was Newcastle away on. It was Newcastle at the King Power Stadium on Boxing Day. Didn't really show up. And then at St James's Park, as we've discussed, he was pretty much anonymous for the full game. There was a couple of times where he got the ball and played some lovely passes, but when he wasn't on the ball, he was pretty anonymous. He wasn't running around after people. He wasn't making tackles. He didn't look like he wanted to get on the ball. So I just wonder if that's playing on Eddie Howe's mind. Probably not. It's probably me just reading too much into it. But I judge players from when I see them in person, and I really struggle to be inspired by Yuri Tielemans against Newcastle this season. So look, he is a player under consideration.
Jesus.
But I just don't know if a deal will happen.
Man, you are 1-up. Crystal Palace are shite.
Well,
Bruno Fernandes. If you can see, I'd just like to break the news. Bruno Fernandes for Man U with a curler. Crystal Palace's defence just literally pulled their shorts down and all sat down, and Bruno just ran straight through the box and scored.
I hope they open the floodgates in that defence like that on Saturday. I tell you what, because Wilson will destroy them.
That was so bad. Just completely Fernandes completely free in the box, not a soul marking him, and just curls in the right hand corner.
Wonderful. You should get a job in Sky as well, Mark.
I could do, yeah. I tell you, listen, if Lee Davey can get one, anyone can.
I'll go back to the Tielemans discussion. That Leicester midfield is horrendous at the moment, and it's okay. We wanted him to put a performance in to stand out, but I'm not being funny. In that game at St James's Park, you could see he was trying to make things happen. He was getting stuck in. He was trying to ruffle some feathers. But our midfield was untouchable in that game. We were so dominant, and it's so hard for you as one player to stand out in that midfield when you've got such a dominant midfield that you're playing against, and the players that you're playing alongside are just not up to standard. It is difficult. Now, for me, in my mind, Tielemans should have gone last season. He should have gone. His mind's gone.
Should have been gone this summer.
He should have. He should have. In Leicester, if they were smart, they'd have got more money for him. They could have benefited from that. But for me, I think his mind is gone. He is out the club. And you've got to remember, when your mind's not in the club and your mind's not as motivated and as focused as it should be, your levels drop. It's a natural thing. I'll give you an example. Gini Wijnaldum in the season we got relegated. In the first the first half, maybe first three quarters of that season, he was good and he was motivated and he was playing well. But when it looked like we were on our way down, he down tools. He stopped playing for Newcastle United. He was putting nowhere near the type of performances in that he was putting in at the beginning of the season. And the only time he stepped up for Newcastle United was the game against Tottenham when he knew we were relegated and he knew he was in a shop window for other clubs. And obviously, ultimately, Liverpool then went and signed him and he went on and did what he did. So players, it happens to players. It's happened to our players. Our players have done it that have played for our club as well. That when they know that their team is gone and that there's no coming back, he knows Leicester ain't getting European football. He knows Leicester aren't challenging for Champions League. So in his mind's already gone because he's a player that knows that he can play at that level. Now, some people would agree and say, oh, no, you should always be motivated. You should always put it in. We've had players that have down tools for us. Yeah. And I think you put Yuri Tielemans in that midfield under an Eddie Howe that's training him with high-intensity training day in, day out, with playing matches that are high-intensity day and like week in, week out, like with that quality of training and with the tactical awareness that Howe has. I honestly believe that he fits in seamlessly in that midfield.
He's a baller.
He's a top player.
Absolutely.
And let's not forget, even with Leicester playing poor, he scored some absolute rockets this season.
He was unlucky with the volley against us.
Yeah.
He should have actually scored.
So for me, I still think there's a player there. And you've got to remember that Eddie Howe has the ability improve you. You know, he's worked miracles with Joe Linton and Shaw and a number of other players, Miggy, but he's got the ability to improve you. So I do think there's something
Absolutely.
in that.
Look at Lascelles. Look at Lascelles. I mean, his positioning on the sideline, getting yellow cards, has been phenomenal this season.
Well, yeah, and it's
all about taking one for the team.
You could argue it's on the board.
Let's link in there because there's one of the questions is about Lascelles. And Jordan, have you heard any rumors about Lascelles leaving? I know he's been linked to one or two clubs. Anthony, I imagine we'd have to bring someone in to replace him. But I imagine myself it'd be more so the summer that he would leave rather than January. But have you heard Anthony?
Yeah, no, I seen one report saying I think he was linked with Wolves, but no, I haven't heard anything. I'd be surprised if he went as well, yeah, because I think they're probably a little bit light at centre back if Botman or Share gets injured. So again, it goes back to the question of finding a replacement, and I'm not sure Newcastle would be willing to spend sort of big money on a centre back in this transfer window because it's not the priority. So yeah, to answer the question, I haven't heard anything about Lascelles going. I know he wants to play more, obviously, like every other player, but you can't fault his sort of effort and professionalism over the season. I find it hilarious that he's got 2 bookings from being a substitute, but just shows that he's buying into everything at the football club, even though he's not playing.
I think another thing is I think the summer window is probably more likely as well because obviously you said we're not going to spend on a centre half this window. But the same thing is he's also got a chance to potentially, along with Trippier, lift Newcastle's first trophy if they get to Wembley. You know, that would be a fantastic part and gift for him to help, lift the trophy at Wembley if we get that far, obviously, and win the tournament as a good send off from him in a way. It's like a thank you for your service type thing. So I think it'd be more summer, if I'm honest with you.
Cool. Look, we're going to go quick fire question round as well. A lot of them are for Jordan. We'll all jump in as well. But before we do, make sure if you are new to the channel that you hit the subscribe button. And a few people are new, and I must welcome Stephen as well, who's new, first time watching live and first comment on the show. So make sure you hit that subscribe button, Stephen, and anyone else that's new. And also everybody, hit that like button. You know what to do. It'll push this show up the algorithms and more people will see it and find us and find our upcoming shows. So, right, I'll throw a name out. I'll go to you first, Jordan. Anthony Gordon.
Yeah, I know what. Did you see the scenes at the weekend with?
Yeah.
I was baffled by it, to be honest. Like Everton. Is that the right way to protest? I'm not sure, but look, they're upset. But one of your own, Anthony Gordon is a boyhood Everton fan. They surround his car, and then to put the traffic stoppers in front of him from leaving the ground was absolutely astonishing. I couldn't believe I was watching. Obviously there was interest there in the summer. Could that be revisited in the summer? In January, I wouldn't rule it out because of what's currently happening. I wouldn't blame Anthony Gordon one bit for looking at what happened on Saturday and wanting out. Yeah. And then if there's a deal there to be done, and as I say, Newcastle, I keep saying about Newcastle and the sort of right opportunities and right players coming available. If they do come available this month, then Newcastle will act. So, it could be one. Not one that I'm hearing on the agenda at the moment, but as I say, after Saturday's scenes, I wouldn't blame him for wanting to leave. And Newcastle were interested in the summer, so that would suggest that they would be interested in January as well if he was to become available.
Cool. Feel free to jump in, anyone else, if they want as well. If not, we'll move on. We'll go to Donald's question about Diaby. Diaby's been linked heavily to Arsenal today because they're looking for a backup for with the Mudryk falling down going to Chelsea. Who else?
Reports today. We have to make fresh and cry with
Arsenal. They want 88 million though. There's no way we're paying that. No way.
It doesn't say that in the article though. It doesn't say that we want to put that he's He's at there at 18.
No, I think what they were saying, Pete, is that a lot of these clubs are now using the Mudryk deal as a guideline.
Yeah.
Which,
For
by the
me-
way, is insane money for a kid that's his age, that's only made 56 appearances and 22 of those were at sub, and he's got less than 16 assists. Like that money for him is just, that's like those two bellends who are selling Prime. Everyone's selling it in a shop in Wakefield for fucking 100 quid.
Wakey wines.
I know. Like, what is going on with the world? Like, it's just fucked. 88 million for a player like that is nonsense. I'm sorry. It's just bonkers.
It happened, 4, maybe 5 years ago, whenever Mbappe went to PSG. Now, Mbappe, we know he's a supreme elite talent, but he'd only played 60 games for Monaco. And PSG went out and spent 160 million on him. Like, so, and what it did, it changed the market. The Mbappe and the Neymar deal completely changed the market.
Yeah,
the Mudryk deal has done exactly the same in January. You're absolutely.
I hope he goes to Chelsea and he just flops. I hope all of Chelsea's boys just flop. I hope they crash and burn.
It's worth doing a show on Chelsea's horrendous transfer business because
your man has no plan. He must be drinking Prime.
No, he doesn't.
Because he's on a fucking different planet. He's just like I've been watching some of them. I just think like, where? Like I get like everybody's asking about FFP and all that kind of stuff. I get that. Like he's done the Mudryk deal over 8 years, so I get that. So his wages and the deal over 8 years, and you know, Richie, you're the genius when it comes to all this financial shit. I get all of that, how it works, but like I just don't get, even with spreading some of those deals, like Chelsea have spent best parts of $500 million since August. I just don't see how that works, even spreading the deals and everything else. Somebody said to me the other day, oh, it's because the government told them they had to sell, so they have free reign. I'm just like, who makes up these rules?
The suggestion I got back is because Abramovich cleared the debt when he sold the club.
He never gave the $2 billion to charity like he said he was going to do.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden the Mudryk deal gets done, Arsenal get hijacked, and then all of a sudden there's a bit of 8-year dealing going on. Tell you what, I never sold stuff down the quayside, but that sounds dodgy to me.
Yeah. So Diaby to Newcastle.
Sorry, I went off on a little tangent there about Mudryk.
I was going to say Peter Beardsley, but no, I was just saying Diaby to Newcastle.
I'd love him.
Last night show.
I would love him, but I just don't see us paying mad money for him at the minute. I think
Just
the market's crazy.
Look at this, boys. I saw this earlier. Most goals and assists from any under 23s player in Europe's top 5 leagues since 2021. Moussa Diaby, 48, number 3. Who's above him? Vlahovic, who we were linked with a little bit in January last year.
I think he's going to move again in the summer.
Who, Vlahovic?
Vlahovic. I don't think he's going to stay at Juventus.
Juventus are screwed.
Yeah,
they need money.
He's not going to stay. He's going to go in the summer, and it'll be way less than the 70 million that they paid.
Would you take him?
Absolutely. He's a class striker. Listen, we've spoken about him. Me and you were on him on fire during the last window, and he went to Juventus. But it's just, I don't know. It's like he's getting a couple of goals, but it's just, I don't know. It's not like I've heard he's had a massive fallout with the manager there, and just all about attitude and everything else.
But for a right winger to be third on that list is just unreal. Like what is it? I think it's 23 goals, 25 assists. It's crazy. Interestingly, fourth, Lee talked about him tonight, Jonathan David at Lille. Yeah. Not too bad. I mean, Gorey, who we talked about in January, having another good turnaround. Okay. And then Tareem Moffi in 8th, who was also mentioned. These are players that, you know, looking out for. I think we've already talked about. I think Chris talked about Rafael Leao, who obviously started Portugal off the bench in the World Cup. So there are players on there that are definitely players that we'd be looking at. But Moussa Diaby is clearly still hitting the heights. So we're arguing, 88 million. Nah, too much. but he's actually outperformed the likes of Mudryk. So who are we to argue that he's not worth that money when he's putting performances and producing quality like that? I don't know. Interesting. Go on, Daz. What else you got for us?
Yeah, let's go. Yeah, we got another one. No, like you may remember last night, it was great of Dom to join us and give us an insight into the youth match that was going on. There was someone else with him, I don't know who that was, but anyway, question for you, Jordan. Are the club a little concerned about the junior teams? I heard the previous fellow was a bit cock, but it goes beyond that. Just that results have been terrible. What's your thoughts on that comment?
Right, so is he referring to Elliot Dickman, who parted company with the club a few weeks ago? No, I don't think he was a cock.
There's a headline if ever there was one.
I'll be getting quoted by all these fan sites after I've just said that.
That's definitely going to be on Newcastle TV.
No, he wasn't. He was really good with the media, Elliot Dickman. He wasn't a cocky. He's actually really, really nice bloke. I just think the thing with the academy is obviously Dan Ashworth is there now, and he has a hands-on approach at sort of all junior levels. I think Elliot Dickman was an appointment, although it was made under the new owners, was actually pre-agreed during the time where the club was undergoing the sale. Because Steve Harper was in charge of the recruitment for that, and they agreed to get Elliot Dickman, from what I understand. Obviously, he came across, but now Dan Ashworth is in the building and is assessing all things academy, infrastructure, etc., the quality of coaching. I think they just decided to go their separate ways, and Dan Ashworth can go and get his own man. I don't know who will come and replace him, Elliot Dickman, if anyone. I think there could be a restructure in terms of whether you have two coaches with the under-21s, which at the minute Ben Dawson, who still has responsibilities with the first team, he's helping out at the moment, and then you've got, I think it's head of youth coaching, Neil Winskill's helping out as well. So there could be the end of the season or before then that they have a restructure and put them two guys and put them in charge, or they go out and find an under-21s lead coach is what the role is. But Elliot Dickman wasn't a cock to answer the question.
There's a word I didn't think I'd hear Jordan
Cronin rapid fire
tonight.
Just quickly.
Top man, Andrew.
Well done,
Cheers to Andrew for becoming a member. Nice one, Andrew. And anyone else who wants to become a member, just hit that join button. It's $1.99 per month. Okay, quick fire. We talked to Ben a bit last night about even fresh Neda, and we know there's a couple of clubs looking at him, and will he be willing to kind of sit on the bench back up to Trippier? But any latest on that? Question from Tom there, Jordan.
Yeah, so I mean, it's quite public knowledge that Newcastle are interested. There was his representatives over here in London a few days ago to talk to potential interested clubs. But as I say with him, I think he's a player that, in many ways, although he's still very young, is probably looking to leave the club he's currently at and go straight into a first team. And will he do that in Newcastle? Obviously, Kieran Trippier is there. Ideally, Newcastle want to understudy to Kieran Trippier because I don't see anyone sort of taking Kieran Trippier's place anytime soon. So there's conversations to have. It just depends if the player would be willing to accept sort of a backup role, if you like, at the minute. But yeah, there's interest there. There's interest of other right backs as well. You've got Harrison Ashby at West Ham. Cody Drama was another one, name that was given to me at Leeds United as well. So there's a few options there, all being considered. I still think Newcastle will probably go out and sign a young right back this summer if they can. This January, if they can. And I'd imagine it'll probably be one of those three names.
I know it kind of slightly unsettles the defence, but could Trippier play left?
Yeah. Would that be a good? I suppose. Yeah, but I'm just thinking, would that be?
It does unsettle it with the likes of Dan Burn, who's playing really well and got his first goal and stuff. But I'm just thinking, as part of the Fresneda piece, I think the selling of the project, the young lad coming in, I think he seems to be, from what I've read, seems to be interested. I think the lure of maybe working and learning with somebody like Trippier is a real positive.
Yeah.
And the fact that maybe he wants more game time. Okay, he might not get it straight away, but I think there is an option to play Trippier left and Fresneda on the right. But obviously then you have a problem, because I think, a lot of people have been talking about Botman and stuff this season and Dan Burn. But for me, the one player that's not getting enough credit is Fabian Schär. And I know it unsettles the whole defensive piece that we've got going on right now, but I think there are options there. So I wouldn't necessarily write off that piece, yeah.
I'll tell you another potential option for the Seda one is that what you could do is you could bring him in now for 6 months to cover pretty much Kraft being out until April. And then when Kraft's back, because obviously we saw him kick on loads since he was getting coached by Eddie Howe since he's come in, you could then say, for example, if he's not going to be a guaranteed start next year with Trippier still be about, loan him out next year to get some more first-team experience. Obviously have a recall clause in the loan in case something was to happen to Trippier. But then give him first, and then bring him back after the year, because by that time, that's when Trippier's contract's up, and, you might be putting like an extra year on the contract or something like that. But you don't know what his fitness level is going to be like. At that time, he might be like, you have to play every other game or something like that, and you could rotate the fullback. So that's another potential option. You bring him in for 6 months, then loan him out next year for a full season.
I wouldn't. And the reason why I wouldn't,
Good option.
Rich, is because we're going to be playing European football, and we're not going to be playing. We're not going to be playing once a week. We're going to be playing twice a week, maybe 3 times a week. We're going to have a lot of football next season, and I think he could get a lot.
Going to be massive.
I think he'd get a lot of game time playing at Newcastle with us playing European football.
I think it's just whether he's happy to sit there, for like the Premier League games and stuff like that. But obviously, don't get me wrong, it'll be if you're a young player, you can come in and get to learn from probably the best Premier League right back at this moment in time, and Kieran Trippier with the experience, the defensive nous he's got from all the days at Atletico Madrid. His attacking ability is fantastic as well. Then don't get me wrong, it's probably any 18-year-old's dream to do that, but it's whether he's actually got that patience to do that, and technically pause his career at the moment, do you know what I mean? Because obviously he's just starting it. So it's a difficult one for him, but don't get me wrong, I think the project's fantastic. He seems to like it. I think it's just that first, wanting to play first-team football, that might be the little potential sticking point. We don't know. We're not privy to like what's going on behind the conversations regards, the move and what they see as his future. But it's, like this is one of the things that obviously that's their concern, not ours.
Yeah, definitely.
I think the other thing as well is you have to trust the process. And if you look at what Ashwood, go on, sorry, if you just very quickly, if you just look what Ashwood did with some of the players at Brighton, do you know what I mean? There were players that weren't necessarily, they were coming through their ranks in their own respective teams, and came into Brighton where they weren't necessarily guaranteed first team football, but they've worked their way into that. Casado is one of the prime examples of that, earning $3,000 a week.
No, you're absolutely right. It's an interesting one.
Yeah, just. Sorry, I'm talking over you because of my delay again. But no, just want to say, just point to Lisa's message and make sure you hit that like button as you're leaving or towards the end of the show. And thanks, Lisa, for reminding everyone you're doing.
268 working and 126 likes.
In the chat.
Not even 50% have hit the likes yet. So come on, man, stop messing around. Hit the like.
For a click. And also shout out to George Hayes, who made a donation to the channel. Thanks, George, for your $50 donation. Thanks, George, for that. Maybe we'll go for a last question for and it's I've got the same question twice actually as someone started another one. It's for Jordan. Last question and to finish, as I said at the start, I'm wearing black in mourning for Chris Wood. So a question
White.
from both Mike Gent. Question for Jordan: who do you think will be going for when Chris Wood leaves? And also from Seb as well. Who's the likely replacement? So who among your colleagues, Jordan? You're talking to Dom, Liam, Hopi. Who do you think is coming in?
That's impossible to answer. I honestly have no clue. It might not necessarily be a striker that they do bring in. They could loan someone, a wide forward, for example. But yeah, to see who they're going to bring in, I wouldn't stick my neck out on the line.
Marcus Thuram.
This man? Oh, like magic.
Yes, like two minds thinking alike, brother. I tell you.
I was literally
Marcus Thuram, 12 million, get that deal done and smash it and get him in.
Is there genuine interest in there?
Absolutely. There has to be. There has to be at that money.
Alan St. Maxim wants him to join.
Yeah.
Alan St. Maximum is getting grief because he put an Instagram post up of him laying on the couch watching Man U tonight. And now everybody's going, is he going to Man United? Like, lads, calm down a little bit. He's just laying on the couch watching the fucking match.
Please, like they're allowed to watch other teams play football.
Like, exactly.
It's part of being a footballer. You watch other teams, you watch how they play.
He's watching McTominay.
Oh my god! I hope he's not. Is he even playing? I don't think he is.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, is he? Is he? No, he's not. Hang on. No, doesn't look like it.
No, definitely.
While you're checking that out as well, Martin, just want to say as also to John Elliott, thanks for the super sticker, John, and also John, thanks. I think it's you as well. You have, let me see, yeah, you've become a member as well. Thanks, John, for becoming a member.
Well done, mate. Double whammy.
Appreciate it.
Okay.
I think that's it, isn't it? We're going to leave it there for tonight.
We will.
Fantastic show, as always. Jordan, great to have you back on. It's been a while, and I know it's been a crazy month so far with so much football, and obviously fitting it into to try and get you obviously is a bit of a nightmare because obviously things are all over the place with Newcastle at the moment, and we wouldn't want it any other way. So hopefully we'll be able to sort out getting you back on between now and the end of the window. But thank you for your time, obviously Lee as well. Great to have Richie back in the team, back in the chat, back in the shows. Great to have you on tonight, mate.
Thanks, man.
Of course, as always, everybody in that chat tonight has been absolutely fantastic. The questions, the comments. Don't think we don't read them. Don't think we don't keep track of them. Even Jordan's been in there tonight. He's been on the show.
Yeah, I feel like I had to redeem myself after missing the joke from Michael. Poor joke, like, but never mind.
It's good for him, to be fair.
Yeah, but we love it, and look, we all know as loaded and Jordan as well, and Lee too, is that we know that you guys in the chat, that you guys make the show because you put the questions out there. You're a part of the show, and you're a big part of what we do on Loaded Mag NUFC. So if you haven't already, click that like, click that subscribe. Come and join us as you're leaving, and thank you for all your support with regards to Loaded Mag NUFC. We're already on the rise to 6K. We are already on the rise to 6K. But
come and join us tomorrow night.
Before we go, this.
Yeah.
We're going to be put in jail. Shout out to Russ and radiatorshed.com. So just a quick shout out to Russ. Let's put Jordan and Richie. Richie haven't been embarrassed for ages, but shout out to Russ and the crew there. And everyone knows at this stage what Russ's business is all about the radiators, all about the heating, and all about the install work. So thanks again to Russ. And if you need any heating needs, or you're doing up a house, or you know someone's doing up a house, you know who to contact, or even come through us and we'll put you in contact with Russ. No problem at all. We'll sort that out. And more pictures, more details coming soon, because I know the lads are working on the showroom and they're doing up the website from talking to Russ today. But that's from our sponsors. Over to you, Pete.
No, it's always a pleasure to have the Full Loaded Transfer Show. We will be back with more. We've got plans and preparations for the next couple of weeks ahead. But most importantly, we need to make sure that Newcastle United get those points on the board, and there's no better way of discussing that with away days. And myself and Martin will be back tomorrow night. With D from Back of the Nest. So if you tune in for away days, we're going to get all the preview, all the fallout from Palace's game. They're currently losing 1-0 now to Man United. And we'll be previewing another massive game on Saturday evening. So come and tune in with us. It should be a laugh as always. Get your comments in the chat. It should be fun. And look, we are there. And I don't know if you want to click the outro, Daz, but before that we're going to be back with the review. Palace, whether it's Saturday or Sunday, we're not quite sure yet, but keep an eye on the Loaded Bag NUFC Twitter. We'll let you know for sure when that will be, and we'll be reviewing everything, hopefully another 3 points. But of course, thank you everyone for joining us, and how do you like that?
Exactly.
How you like drink it like weed and tell me if you like that, like that.